JKB back with another episode. Today on the show, I'm reviewing Super Mario Odyssey. Is it worth it? Let's find out. Nintendo sent over the review copy. Thank you so much to Nintendo for that. They also included my very own Cappy, so this is awesome. Thank you for that too. Also, thanks for all the questions on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram that I've kind of tried to answer in this review, so let's get into the game itself. Super Mario Odyssey is a return to the classic open world-like setting, similar to Mario 64 or Mario's Sunshine. However, for the most part, the settings bear resemblance to real-world locations. When I first saw the trailer for this game, I thought to myself, New Donk City? Okay, this looks different, and I like the Donkey Kong kind of tie-in that we're getting here, but the humans walking around doing human things in a Mario game, very awkward. And I'll say this much, this is a very, very, very minor spoiler, but into the third kingdom, the Sand Kingdom, you come across a human standing next to a car in the desert. For no reason, it's just there. Obviously, when you get further into the game, it's explained to you what's going on. But at the beginning here, I just have to say, I'm on the side of the tracks that thinks maybe that shouldn't have been in the game. Maybe we shouldn't have humans and T-Rexes running around. Yeah, it's fun to control a T-Rex. We've all seen that from the trailer. But in saying that, the human interaction here is just, it's good. It makes sense. I understand it. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of it at this point in time. Nintendo has decided to remove most of the classic power-ups you know and love in exchange for a ghost known as Cappy. Now, Cappy has his own motivations and asks Mario to team up with him to bring Bowser down. Cappy replaces Mario's cap and has his own ability to capture certain objects and enemies to take control of them. Overall, you'll come across 52 different enemies and objects in the game that you can take over. There's also a co-op mode which lets one player control Mario and the other control Cappy. Once I started to understand what Cappy did in the game, the fact that you can throw Cappy in a few different directions based on motion controls and take over enemies or attach it to an item and interact with that item was spectacular. I've been saying for a very long time, all of these games we play get very stale, and it always comes down to the devs focusing a little too much on the main character and not enough of the environment. This is where Nintendo has made the right step in the right direction to not make it a typical Mario game, and they've really introduced a new character that I really feel will have a hard time getting rid of in the future. Like I said, when you throw the cap for the first time on a frog and take that frog over and have the ability to jump higher, you start to understand what they're going with in this game. And that right there, my friends, is the epitome of video game fun. You won't have any more fun than this. This is like the most fun you could ever have with a video game. The main object of the game is to collect power moons to power your ship, the Odyssey, to fly from kingdom to kingdom as you search for Bowser. There is no central hub world, as the Odyssey itself is used to move between locations. Another major difference this time around is Mario doesn't lose lives. This means you won't be coming across one-up mushrooms or game over screens, but instead, when you die, you'll lose coins. You'll actually lose 10 coins every time you die and run out of your energy. The coins that are collected serve as currency in the game. There are two different types of currency in the game. The golden global yellow coins, which can be used in any of the kingdoms, and the purple regional coins that can only be used in the kingdom you have found them. You spend these coins at a Crazy Cap store to buy items for your Odyssey and costumes. The idea of bringing in a new way to play Mario with the cap is spectacular, but on top of that, to turn the coins into actual currency in a Mario game is something that I never thought they would do. The idea of collecting the coins was always about getting one-ups so you can continue your game, you know, every time you died. But now you're collecting those coins not only to preserve yourself, because every time you die you lose 10 coins, but also to spend on different items that you'll find on all of these kingdoms, and also special coins that are also just kind of scattered around like the main coins in the game, but these ones are purple. These coins will only be used in the shop on that kingdom, so you can't take those with you on the Odyssey. When you fly back down to the planet, it'll tell you how many you have to still find. This is an amazing idea in a Mario game. To be able to switch out your costumes on top of it is another amazing aspect of the game that I think is very underrated. The idea of changing Mario's costume in a game has always been based around the items that you find for the most part. You know, in the past you could scan an amiibo in some of the Mario games or side Mario games and change your costume, but this time around, finding the coins, spending the coins, and finding the unique coins to each kingdom is absolutely a joy. This is going back to the fact that this game is literally the pinnacle of having fun with a video game. I can easily say that this is the best feeling Mario game to date. The controls are smooth, responsive, and it's an absolute joy to play. The one thing I will say is the motion controls play a major part in the game, and when you are playing in handheld mode, it is very difficult to actually flick the whole system in your hand to try to throw Cappy in a different direction. Cappy has a few different abilities based on the motion controls, and it just feels a little off at times. A lot of people either love or hate the motion controls. I'll say this much, playing with the two Joy-Cons split off from the system in the home setup is a lot of fun to play, because you can easily flick a Joy-Con up to throw Cappy up, or forward to throw him forward, or flick him to the side to get him to do a spin. However, when the Joy-Cons are connected to the system itself and you're trying to play on the bus, you look like you have some issues playing the system like this. And I'm telling you, it's ridiculous at times. You're trying to throw Cappy to do his circle ability, and you're killed because you're not flicking the whole goddamn handheld system enough. You look like a maniac. So that right there could be a negative. We'll find out at the end of the review. The game also features Snapshot Mode, where players can pause the game and take pictures. You can zoom in and out, tilt the camera, apply one of several filters ranging from blurry surroundings to a fisheye lens, or you can actually apply really cool filters like the NES filter, the Super NES filter, and they look really cool. Let's get into the pros and cons of Super Mario. You gotta admit, I look like a typical hardcore, like, I love the game, I love everything Nintendo releases, I have a Triforce tattoo, so of course this game's gonna get a 10 out of 10. Well, that's gonna be based on a few different aspects here, and as I go into the cons, motion controls are going to come up, because that's the first one on my list. It is annoying having to do the motion controls when you're using it in handheld mode. There's no doubt about it. Locking Cappy's abilities into motion controls was not a great idea. You can turn motion controls off. However, that's kind of why you want to play this game, but I just feel like the buttons were misused. Half of the buttons do half of what the other buttons do, so they're really not utilizing the system to its potential in terms of its controls. It's kind of pigeoned in there the last second. It kind of feels like, oh, we got to get that in there because it does it on the controllers, but is that a major problem? No, I have a blast playing it with my Pro Controller. Art design at times is a little mismatched. I mean, I'm walking around a level, and no spoilers here, but I'll see something, and what is that? That looks like it's out of Destiny 2. It's like a loot crate, or what the hell's that over there? And it's all awkward, and I think some people will be taken back a little, having humans and a T-Rex and strange shit flying above you, UFOs. Very strange at times. The game is not a typical Mario game, that's for sure, and that could be a con for some people out there. The art design, on the other hand, this game is spectacular looking. Another thing that I have to bring up, the boss battles are the usual, hit them 3 times and they're dead. Follow the pattern and then they're dead. I mean, it's not like you're going to be blown away with the boss battles, so the negative there for the boss battles is I just had to bring it up. It's spectacular like past games. Some of the first boss battles you do in Mario 64, you're just like, oh my god. You do get those moments here of like, this is cool, but then it's a little repetitive with the actual bosses. You're kind of doing the same thing over, jumping, throwing your hat, doing something. But I mean, could it have been better? Maybe a little. Is it a disaster in terms of boss battles? No. The music, however, I have to say this. I don't think people have been talking about this, but Mario 64 had probably the most recognizable score from any of the Mario games other than the first one, obviously. But in saying that, I was hoping we were going to get the classic Mario songs. And I gotta be honest here, I'm disappointed. I'm thinking about the music right now as I sit here, and none of it is coming to my mind right now, and that's a disappointment. The two games that came out this year, Zelda and Mario, seem to have scores that are just kind of there. They're just there. On one of the levels, the music sounds like they hired the Doors to make the song. And I hate psychedelic rock. I just hate it. And it's in a Mario game now, and that's just my personal preference here. But that song is horrible, and it just doesn't feel right in there. I was hoping for the upbeat Mario or the little undertones of darkness with booze and stuff. You're not getting that here to the degree that it's expected. As for the pros, everything else is amazing in the game. Everything. It looks beautiful. From each kingdom to each kingdom, you are seeing things that are not only designed in a different mindset, you're seeing things you haven't seen in a Mario game, and it looks absolutely stunning. And I'm playing on a 55-inch QLED Samsung TV. It looks unbelievable on there. I am so pleased with what they have done with a handheld system that just plugs into your TV. Spectacular. The sense of adventure in this game is almost up there with Legend of Zelda to a certain degree. And I'm not talking about the overall experience. I'm talking about the idea of going on an adventure in a video game. You feel like you're going on an adventure. When you hop on the Odyssey and you plug in your power moons, you feel like, yes, we did it. We can go to the next kingdom. We're moving the story forward. It all works really well in that aspect. So yes, it feels like a very cool adventure, but also, what are we talking about here? Cappy is just insanity. The idea of taking out the classic items and replacing it with Cappy and the ability to capture all of these items and enemies and control them is just awesome. That's probably the coolest aspect of the game. I've experienced all of the items that you can take over, from like tanks to, I think they're like little onion people that grow up into the sky, and you gotta figure out how to collect the purple coins using them, and it's just like everything works. And then the next thing on here is that the level design is just brilliant. From the classic Super Mario that's sort of embedded into the side of levels to playing as a T-Rex, it's amazing. The 52 items that you can capture, including the enemies, of course, just spectacular. The coin decision here to make it real currency is one of the coolest aspects of the game. To be able to use the coins to buy items and costumes is like introducing a new RPG element, and I feel like if we get a lot of good feedback, the next Mario game could even include more, and there's a lot to be collecting here as is. The next thing on the list has to be changing the costumes. I just mentioned that it's cool to buy them, but it's also cool to change them over, and you might want to pay attention because sometimes you change to a costume that will do something differently in the actual level. Wink, wink. Unbelievable amount of things to do in the game. I mean, you could play this game for 40 hours and not even touch the surface of all of the collectibles. There's a secret literally hidden around every corner, and this is how I'm going to close it out. Remember in Mario 64, you play that game inside out, you collect 100 stars, you collect, obviously you get Yoshi on the rooftop at the Mushroom Kingdom castle, and you were done with the game. That was it. But in this game, you think you're done with the game after, spoilers, I'm not going to say it, but you finish the game and then you can go back and do something else. But there are things hidden, I literally mean around every corner. There's things that you assume you could never get to but you can get to them using Cappy by jumping off of him mid-air. The abilities with Cappy mixed with the adventure, mixed with all of the secrets, create a game that's not only a masterpiece, but probably one of the best Mario games behind Super Mario 64. I'm a huge fan of this game, and based on all the negatives, I tried to boil those down and think, did that take 0.5 off of the game? I'm gonna give Super Mario Odyssey a 9.5 out of 10. It is an absolute delight to play, but it's not perfect. I have to take 0.5 off of this motion control forced use, and the boss battles are mediocre. You've done it before. The music is like, whatever. Overall, though, 9.5 is like a near perfect game. So thank you so much for watching this episode of JKB, and yes, I will have more reviews out as soon as possible. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next episode of JKB.